In this video, I'm reading the introduction chapter to my Primal lifestyle guide. This guide is for those who want to start the Primal diet and do it right, in full alignment with the principles laid out by autogenous water planets. This diet is about understanding how the human body operates so that we can know how to take care of ourselves in any circumstance and optimize our progress. One of the most important things to know is that there are principles that apply to every single person regardless of their state of health. An example of a principle is eating fruit, except papaya, pineapple, tomato, cucumber, avocado, with red meat, causes a reaction that results in a massive reduction in cellular regeneration from the meat. So you can't be having orange or berries with your red meat, or even lemon juice or lime juice. But apple cider vinegar is fine because the sugar in the apples have already been utilized and broken down, so it won't react with the meat. Many people like to argue that everybody is different. I disagree. Everybody's bodies are exactly the same. Raw animal products will always provide the best health. Some people may need more alkalizing foods, but it doesn't mean that they should be a vegan. Salt will always do what salt does, and the same with every other food. Some people may not have an immediate reaction to it. They might have slightly different reactions in the short term, medium term, but on a fundamental level, our bodies process everything and function the same. We just have different toxins and deficiencies, but largely 95 to 99% of people are going to have the exact same problems. One person may need a different remedy than another person, which is clearly explained by autogenous water plants, but it never goes against the rules. In regards to understanding how the human body operates, one very important thing to address is autoimmune issues. Autogenous teaches us that there's no such thing as an immune system, as it's actually the lymphatic system, the filter of the body. Immunity implies that the body fights microbes, when in reality they assist us. When the body appears to attack itself, it is actually dissolving and removing toxins, not attacking healthy cells. The reason a doctor or a scientist will say that the body is attacking itself is because they are completely unwilling to acknowledge the fact that medication and processing of foods is actually what causes the problem. So whenever the body is attacking itself, it's actually attacking. The body doesn't attack anything. It's dissolving, breaking down, it's removing toxins. But the pharmaceutical industry has taught us germ theory, that germs are attacking us, when in reality, terrain theory, you already know, the body's breaking down toxins. Another example of how they're going to try to claim the body is being attacked by things, whether the body's attacking itself or microbes is attacking the body, they'll take human cells, put it in a petri dish, and then put bacteria in it, and the bacteria starts breaking down the human cells. Oh, look, the bacteria is attacking the human cells. But the human cells are already outside the body, therefore they're dead. And the bacteria's function is to break down dead cells. So it's not attacking healthy cells in a human body. On the topic of dispelling common myths, let me lay out vocabulary that I will never use when talking about health. I have a very important rule. If autogenous doesn't talk about it, it doesn't matter. And that rule is applied to some of these words. These words I consider to be useless and will only confuse you, and they won't help you in any way. First, testosterone and estrogen. More testosterone doesn't mean you're becoming healthier. You can smoke tobacco and increase your testosterone. That doesn't mean you're getting healthier. It's not going to improve your quality of life. People do stupid things like take ice baths because it increases testosterone and HGH. Remember, we don't use blood work for anything. Just because your testosterone is higher after an ice bath does not mean the ice bath was healthy for you. If anything, the ice baths deteriorate you by wasting your nutrients because your body has to warm itself and it stresses the body. Your body can only handle so much stress every day, and stressing unnecessarily reduces your healing capabilities. Some people argue that small amounts of stress is healthy, but some stress is always unhealthy. Some forms of stress are healthy in moderation, but that doesn't mean every form of stress is healthy. And what about estrogen? Estrogen itself is not a bad thing. It's a response to something bad. Lowering estrogen artificially by eating certain foods and looking at your blood to see if it's lower doesn't mean that you're getting healthier. The problem is why the estrogen is there. If you lower the estrogen without removing the problem, then the problem is still there. You're just artificially suppressing it in your blood levels. If our body creates estrogen in response to something, it's because our body needs the estrogen to deal with whatever toxin you just put in your body. The estrogen itself is not the toxin. Now let's talk about this. Histamines, oxalates, any specific vitamin or mineral, cholesterol, autophagy, keto, inflammation, thyroid, all these types of things. Histamine is a useless word that will only confuse you. Just completely forget about it. Same with oxalates. The diet's already built in a way where you never have to even think about these things. You don't have to think about any individual vitamin like vitamin E, vitamin D, vitamin A. And you have to think about minerals like calcium, magnesium, zinc, because we just lump them into whole categories. If you need minerals, you eat the foods that provide minerals. You don't specify which ones you need because you need all of them. You need a specific vitamin, you don't focus on eating a certain food that has a lot of that vitamin. You just eat the food that we go to that provides the vitamins on the diet. By focusing on these micronutrients, you're going to end up eating the wrong foods. And look, quantity and quality are not the same thing. Just because a food has a certain amount of vitamin A in it doesn't mean you're going to utilize it the exact same as getting vitamin A from a different food. So it's the complete wrong way to look at it. We just focus on protein, sugar, fat, enzymes, alkalizing foods, minerals, and vitamins as a whole. If you have an issue, don't look up the micronutrient profiles to find what you need. Look at Ogenus' resources and follow his suggestions directly. Trying to invent your own remedies almost always backfires. If you did invent a new remedy, it must not go against our pre-existing principles. So now let's talk about how are we actually going to approach the diet. Are you going to do it casually, or are you going to be strict about it? If you're already in good health and just want more consistent energy and productivity without having to invest extra time, you can be a casual primal dieter. But if you're dealing with health issues, or if you just want to reach the peak experience of life, strict primal produces results many times faster and takes you much further. What primal means is that you follow the rules laid out by Ogenus. If you eat raw foods but you don't follow these rules, you are raw animal-based, not primal. Please don't mix it up. If you're not following Ogenus, don't call yourself primal because you're misleading people and misrepresenting what the diet actually is. Some key primal principles includes no frozen meat, no fruit within the first 6 hours of the day. It creates less stable energy and slower healing. No fruit with red meat, except pineapple, papaya, tomato, peeled cucumber. Only a small amount of milk with meat, a sip or two, unless the meat's sautéed or the milk is turned into kefir first. All these I'll explain why more later in the chapters in the full book. Strict primal includes not only following the guidelines, but also incorporating the remedial recipes such as sport formulas, lubrication formulas, milkshakes, vegetable juice, but also taking hot baths and following the cheese train schedule. There's also other remedies too, penicillin destroyer, solvent remover, all sorts of stuff. Cheese trains are where you eat a quarter pound of cheese, cut up into small cubes, eaten throughout the entire day, a cube every 10 to 20 minutes, which actually increases your heavy metal detox by 3 to 7 times without any additional symptoms. These recipes are important for removing specific toxins from the body and nourishing the parts of the body that normally don't get fed when eating the basic foods by themselves. If you just eat raw meat and drink raw milk, you are not getting everything you need. You need to have these specific remedies, specific recipes to feed the parts of the body that normally don't get fed in the basic combinations. You might think it sounds like a lot to commit to, being strict. It does take time to learn everything and get into the routine of things, but if you stick to it, you'll eventually be glad that you did, and it will become second nature. It stops feeling like extra effort. If you do the diet casually the first year, you're going to make progress. Eventually, you're going to begin to feel normal again because you get used to your new state of being. If you improve in your health and you quit improving, eventually you begin to feel normal again because you get used to it. But if you do the diet strict, you are accelerating so fast that you really never begin to feel normal again because you're always just going to be on another level, constantly making obvious improvements. When you do the diet casually, you make the same progress you make in 1 month strict in about 6 to 12 months. So if you're making 6 to 10 times faster progress being strict, it's like, wow, life changes quick and it gets a hell of a lot better, a hell of a lot faster. The results you produce are directly proportional to the effort you apply. You're still going to feel better following the diet casually than eating a normal cooked diet. And you're still going to slow down aging. You're still going to do good eating raw foods. I'm just talking about for those who want to be superhuman. You want to be elite. You want to be the best of the best. You want to far exceed anything that anybody has ever witnessed. If you want to walk around in public and be a walking specimen of the object of perfect health, you got to do the diet perfect to do that. If you're going to do the diet casually, as long as you eat plenty of butter with your meat, 2 to 3 ounces with every meal, and you're having at least a cup or 2 of juice a day, you're going to do pretty good. If you do the diet casually, but you're only drinking milk, having eggs, and eating meat, and you're not having lots of butter, and you're not having plenty of juice, or at least just a little juice, just a little bit of juice every day, makes a big difference. If you incorporate the juice, a little bit of cheese, milkshakes, lubrication formulas here and there, you're going to do a lot better. If you just eat the plain foods without making the recipes, it's kind of a problem because you're likely not going to be full, not going to be satisfied. You have to make the sauce recipes. You got to make at least 1 dairy fat recipe every day, like the milkshake, lubrication formula, cheesecake, or ice cream. Just have at least 1 serving of one of those 4 delicious recipes at least once a day. Makes a huge difference. You'll feel better and you're actually going to enjoy that meal. A lot of people just eat meat, suck a few eggs, and then drink some milk, and they call themselves primal. That's raw animal-based. It's not primal. You want to feel really good? Don't think that raw meat's just going to magically change your life. You got to do a little bit more than that. Raw meat might magically change your life. That is possible. But you got to put more effort in it than just that. If you want to know things such as advice for making vegetable juice, how long it lasts, how to make it taste extra delicious, and how to get the most out of your consumption, watch the full course on Patreon. When you eat raw food and start detoxing, you can become overly acidic, causing you to lose appetite, become irritable, and maybe even get headaches. The vegetable juice is important for that. So like I said a minute ago, you at least need to have a little bit of vegetable juice every day just to keep you balanced. It's also important to put a little bit of light cream or raw egg into your juice before you drink it, because the juice is slightly detoxing. And if you don't do that, it may cause issues. You might even get into a bad mood after drinking vegetable juice if you don't put an egg in it. I'll drink vegetable juice sometimes and just be pissy for no reason because it actually causes a protein deficiency. And to solve that, you have to mix a raw egg into the juice before you drink it, and it immediately fixes that. Very often, if I go a week, maybe even a few days sometimes without vegetable juice, my appetite's just messed up. All I want to do is drink milk, and I don't feel like eating any meat, and I don't have a ton of energy. I'm not very sharp. So the juice is very important. In regards to actually detoxing properly, you're not really going to detox vaccines and heavy metals effectively if you're not following the protocols. A fair amount of health issues will be resolved just by eating raw foods, but if you want to solve some more serious issues and make more progress, you have to do the diet properly. Casual primal equals slow, gradual improvements. You maintain your health and prevent further aging. You're still likely to have the common improvements when you first start your newbie gains. Strict primal. Constantly improve your experience of reality through consistent and dramatic improvements in health. When you first start the diet, you need to experiment with a bunch of recipes until you find your primal comfort foods. This is the most important part of starting the diet. You have to experiment with recipes until you find your primal comfort foods. Don't just expect to eat plain raw meat with your bare hands and be happy and satisfied. You at least have to cut it up into small pieces. When you eat cooked steak, you're still cutting up with a knife. Do the same with the raw meat. And really, find the recipes you love, the ones that fill you up, and the ones you look forward to eating. In order to create a variety, you need to find the proper sources of beef, chicken, pork, deep sea fish. Find a recipe you love for beef, one for chicken, one for pork, one for fish. So whenever you get bored, you can always rotate to something else. If you don't find nice recipes, it's likely you're only going to eat like half as much meat as you normally would, and you're not even going to like it, resulting in much slower progress and also less enthusiasm. You have less enthusiasm, you're not going to take it as seriously, you're more likely to quit. If you only have access to beef, you can still make nice recipes and enjoy the diet, but you're missing out if you can't get pork, chicken, and fish too. The goal is to make raw food so enjoyable that it's more comforting and more satisfying than cooked food ever could be. For convenience, try to find all the varieties of meat, like I said, but also find non-steamed unpasteurized dates, nuts and seeds, raw dairy locally. That way you don't have to order it online. Some things you have to order online, like dates and nuts and seeds usually. But if you can find it locally, then, you can stay more consistent. And all these things are provided in the full guide. And I'm also looking for other things to add soon, other ingredients. But I have found the non-steamed dates, the unpasteurized nuts and seeds, and some other things in the full guide. You can also contact people on primalmeetup.com to find food sources near you. When it comes to cheating on the diet, here's what I think. Most people either cheat for social validation or to relieve emotional stress through comfort foods. You can make your own decision whether you're going to cheat by eating cooked food with your friends and family, but that's not something I would ever do. If you don't suffer immediate negative effects from eating cooked food, and you decide it's something you want to experience in your life, then okay. Some people have severe reactions to cooked foods, which is why they have to do the diet. Just know, even if you don't have immediate symptoms, there's always a price to pay if you're eating cooked food. You will accumulate toxins and deficiencies over time, and your future health and quality of life will suffer. You may think it's worth it in the moment, but I consider it to be self-destructive. Why can't you bond with your friends or family on just as deep of a level, eating your own healthy food alongside their junk food? Because they made it for you? You say it's because they love you. Why can't they make you a raw meat meal because they love you instead of a cooked meal? Why do they have to offer you something that you believe is harmful? Isn't that selfish of them? Is that real love? Think about what you're building by doing that. I consider it to be an insecurity, a lack of courage and determination to be accepting cooked food because of the opinions of others. I believe that since cooking food is harmful, It's a degenerate practice that should be completely abandoned so it does not harm future generations. When it comes to relieving emotional stress with junk food, if you're on the verge of a breakdown, maybe it's healthier to eat something familiar and comforting. Ideally, it'd just be a little bit of cooked starch, like one small potato with the equal amount of raw butter once it cools off, as that's the least toxic cooked food, and the starch in the potato will absorb the excess adrenaline and help you relax more than any other food. Audina says you're usually going to crave more cooked starch than what's healthy, and that you should make a serious effort to only eat 4 ounces of it, and have an equal amount of butter with it to absorb the waste product of the cooked food. It's going to help you relax, and you're going to feel a lot more comfortable after doing that. If you really just want to have a food coma and you're just craving to pig out, just have a milkshake with extra cream, and that's really going to make you really full. You're craving cooked food, but you drink a whole fat milkshake, you're going to be so full you're not going to be able to eat anything else. You can also add some fruit to it. When it becomes a real problem is when people start planning to cheat and building it into their routine. Cheating should only ever be a last resort to avoid a psychologically harmful mental breakdown, and even then, choose the least toxic option, just a small baked potato. If you are constantly anxious and craving cooked foods, then you're probably not even doing the diet well. You probably have no variety, you're overstimulating yourself somehow, you're not having any sunlight, no exercise, you're probably severely undereating, you're eating too much red meat, you're probably not making vegetable juice, you're probably not making any of the dairy fat recipes, you're just eating foods by themselves in a boring way, you're not doing cheese and honey, you're not doing oysters, you're not doing all the good stuff. Ultimately, the goal is to get to a point where cooked food is no longer comforting. It's not about willpower, it's about finding the delicious recipes that are better than cooked food, and getting to the point where you understand the toxic nature of cooked food to where you'd be disgusted thinking about ever even putting it in your body because you realize how bad it really is. When you study Audina and truly embody the realization of the power of raw food and the harm of cooking, you'll probably just automatically stop craving cooked food. And if you do cheat, you're going to notice how much worse you feel, further reinforcing your conviction to stay raw. When something requires constant discipline, it usually means you're approaching it ineffectively. The primal diet, like everything in life, becomes much easier if you are prepared and have an effective approach. Here's how to make it easy. Experiment with recipes immediately. Don't just start eating raw meat by itself and expect to enjoy yourself. At least cut meat into small pieces. Ideally, cut up all your meat once you get it, or pâté it, and then make a sauce recipe that'll last several days. If you're being lazy, at least put a little bit of honey in your meat. That's going to help. Just no more than 1 tablespoon per 8 ounces, or else you're going to impair the digestion because the honey will overly alkalize the meat, which requires an acidic environment to break down. Never let yourself run out of ingredients. Get more before you run out. And if you order online, get onto a schedule. Make all your food for the entire day first thing in the morning so it's ready. And get full on foods every time you eat so you never even have the chance to get hungry and crave something bad. This is the introduction to my Primal Lifestyle Guide. I have a tremendous amount of information in this book. If you want to learn more, you need to join my Patreon.